And we are live. Another one. How you guys doing?
I'm doing all right. We got Randall back, man. We've been pretty good getting Randall on the show here, man.
Very fortunate to have Randall Avery. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. Excited to join you guys today.
Man, you must be warm down there. What's that weather like for me? Tease me a little bit.
He was just joking with me offline that he's freezing down there.
Anytime it gets below 50, it's like, why are we even living, right?
OMG.
Yeah. Dante was in the freezer for about 4 hours yesterday outside.
Oof.
Outside, Soldier Field, 35 degrees, snow flurries. Wind chill felt like it was 17, wind coming from the lake. My son was with me and he said, Dad, I think my feet are frozen.
You didn't get my toe warmers, did you?
You know what? I wasn't by any Home Depots. I didn't make the extra effort. I was, we had this whole ordeal in the morning, and so it was crazy. My mom's out of town; she's in Texas, and so I had to go get the mail and do all these things. So I was just like, man, I just want to get down there. And it was funny because when we got down there, we parked, and everyone that knows Soldier Field is like not a good place to park. You're always, you got a 1 mile walk, whichever direction you're coming from. So we ended up parking at Millennium Park. So it's 1.4 mile walk. So, pretty brisk of a walk. And you're like, okay, it's not so bad. You're warm. But then once you sit down as the game was going on, and then you would feel that wind every so often, it was like, oh, my God. And then I was getting so mad because they were losing. I was like, dude, I came to this game.
You're ready to go home. And all of a sudden, fourth quarter magic happens.
Magic happens. And now it was like, you were at that game? Yes, that was an amazing game. What a comeback. So, yes, we're thawing out today. And we're also going to be talking
as
some
a true
good
Bear
stuff
fan,
today.
you're all done.
I wrote this down.
Oh, I'm talking over you. You're talking over me. I was trying to joke around. As a true Bears fan, you won't go to any more games this year, so you're all done.
True Bears fan, we're done. It's over. It's that was actually my first snow flurry game. Just to give you context, it gets so cold that I'm basically saying, hey, September, October, that's when you're gonna find me at a Bear game. But November was a danger. It was a little danger, and then I paid for it yesterday. I was like, oh my gosh.
Next time, make it a little easier. Park at 31st Street and walk through McCormick if you want to walk.
That's true too. You could do that as well. So
especially with the little guy.
Yeah.
Do kids really need 10 toes? Let's be honest now.
Man, there you go. And I said, hey, this builds character. This is good for you. He was ready to tap out. He was like, man, can we leave with like 5 minutes left to go? Maybe 3 minutes left? No. I said, no. I said, if they score right here, we got to stick around. Oh, they scored. Now we got to stay for the whole game. He's like, but Dad, I got to go to the bathroom. You got to hold it. I'm not going to miss the game. You see what's going on right here. Like, you got to hold it, man. I looked at him. I gave him the look. I gave him that crazy dad look. Like, you can hold it, right? Hold it. Yes, I can hold it. Gotta learn. So no, it was a learning experience. So thank you to my son for being a trooper. But we made it. We got it done, and we saw a victory. And the fans even said it was just you don't normally. That's a game that the Chicago Bears normally lose. If you go to the history of time, that type of game, it was a trap game, going into the real part of our season, we normally lose that game. We won. So the city and everyone's feeling good. And that's the one thing, Randall, just so from a Chicago perspective, even me and Vince, we don't get along when we talk about baseball, right? They got the Cubs, you got the Sox. I'm a Sox guy. Vince is a Cubs guy. So we all get along. Some people don't like basketball. Some people don't watch hockey. So
for the record, our Bulls are doing really well this year. For the record,
and the Hawks.
We'll talk about that someday.
Yeah, but so from a city perspective, we all unite for the Bears. That's everyone's team. That there are no divides. So unless you get a couple sprinkled Packer fans around, but I don't even want to talk about them. But
let's move on to show 53.
Yes, is it 53?
That's what you got up on the thing, so I would assume, but maybe that's wrong.
All right. No, I think it's right. I think I checked. I said, this is what I wrote down. I said, if you ever notice how a home can mean completely different things depending on who is holding the keys. And I want to say, when I wrote that, I was watching Grant Cardone because we were talking about just the differences of how, depending on who has the keys and what mindset you have on what a home truly is. What is a home to you? Is it just a place that you sleep in, or is it a potential wealth building machine that can help you elevate your current surroundings? And I think that's where these questions come by. I said for some, it's the dream, it's the porch, it's the piece, it's the perfect zip code. For other, it's a chess move, equity, leverage, and legacy all wrapped in drywall. But here's the real question: when does that dream home stop being a lifestyle choice and start becoming a financial strategy? And I think that's the overarching, really question that, I want to make sure that we're honing in on today. So when I ask these questions, when can we start making a home a financial strategy, or is it always just a lifestyle choice and leave it at that? So the first question that I asked you guys was, when does your primary home stop being lifestyle choice to start being a financial strategy? So that's the first question. And I'll let Randall, if you want to kick it off, I'll let you kick it off.
Yeah. So when does it become an investment versus just, hey, this is my preference? And one of the easiest way just could be luck. You can accidentally just make a great decision. Everything around you goes in the way, but that is the rare occasion, and it's not even productive to talk about. When it becomes an actual investment, a money-making thing, is if that you've done the homework beforehand. You've looked at the school systems. You've looked at what's the construction going on around you, and you look at all the different things as far as what it can rent for and all those other things. Then you can actually think of it as an investment. What I observe is a lot of people do not take the time to really look at their home in that investment aspect. So it's hard to switch it over from lifestyle to investment. And that's where usually the luck comes into play. So to answer the question, it's a lot of homework to really think of your home as an investment.
Vince, what do you think?
I'll shorten that up with when you have kids and if it's your second home. So moving from your starter home to your next house.
Oh, that's good. Short and sweet. I should have typed this in the chat so people know. Give me 1 second. And, it's a funny thing. I was talking to someone this morning, and they were talking about typing and how the younger generation, like Generation Alpha, they're learning primarily on apps and iPads. So they don't know how to type.
Like the 10 key home row stuff?
Yes. They don't have that abilities to actually type. And so they're struggling with that concept. So, it was pressed upon me that make sure you learn how or teach them how to type, because they're not learning how to type. There's no typing classes, and that's very important. It's still a skill I think will be necessary down the road.
Well, for you authors, it always will be.
I don't know. Did you type yours out or did you write it out, Randall?
I typed mine out word for word. It was a nightmare. But, the new wave is to have somebody else transcribe your thoughts.
Sure.
And even now, instead of somebody else, it could be AI who actually extrapolates what you're thinking into a full book. So it'll be interesting who maintains certain skills and who doesn't.
Exactly. So to answer this question, to me, I would like to see the financial strategy from day one. I would like to see that, our streaming, other people's podcasts, really start to pave a way for people to really have more of a conscious thought pattern of what they're buying and why they're buying it for. I think, as things continue to get more expensive around us, as AI continues to downsize a lot of corporations, I think the financial strategies, you're going to have to look for any way you can to maximize opportunities for you, instead of being so reliant on the job. I saw something, and I wish I could quote it out, but they were talking about that, AI potentially will bring out UBI. They think there's a day and time that UBI actually really does exist. And I remember, kind of, I think we were talking about this a couple times ago, but Andrew Yang was the first one to kind of bring that out, and people kind of weren't ready to really resonate with that thought pattern. He was a little bit too early for people to really like, what are you talking about? And it might resonate more now that AI is here and you're seeing the downsides. I think we're close to over 1 million jobs have been lost this year. Now I don't have any stats per se on that one, but I think it is interesting that that this is something that I think moving forward in the future, we need to be more cognizant of what we're buying, where we're buying. Location has always mattered in real estate, and it can bring about opportunity. Had an opportunity last week to speak to Ari Rastegar of Rastegar Financials, and really, talk about your blind luck. He bought a lot of stuff around the Austin area, and then but there was a rhyme or reason because he started noticing people were moving down. And so he bought up a lot of stuff that, people now want to have or borrow or rent from. And so there's just great opportunities. So I think financial strategy needs to be in play, from day one if you're looking to buy a house. It can no longer just be lifestyle choice.
Now, Dante, based off your experience, how many people, as a percentage of people who obtain a mortgage from you, or your exposure to them, actually do that analysis? I would say my guess would be 95% puts their initial home purchase in a lifestyle decision. It can evolve into investment, but 95% of the time, I think it's a lifestyle.
I agree. I agree with you. I do 100%. It's a lifestyle choice where I want to live. They think about their kids, what school district they want to put them in. I do agree with that sentiment, but I think the pivot is now to start making that change. As we're moving into the future, I think it's no longer really a lifestyle choice. A lifestyle choice has to be a part of my financial strategy as well. I think of a single mom. I think of her unique situation. She was from the city of Chicago, and she had a son, and she was raising her son, and she decided to move from Chicago to Naperville. Naperville is a very high end place, and she did like a rent to own situation and ended up buying out there. She wanted to move her son away from Chicago, wanted to, quote unquote, provide him a better opportunity in Naperville, have him go through Naperville school district and such like that. And so that to me is a lifestyle choice that she made, right? But also she knew, the opportunity that existed in Naperville from an appreciation standpoint. She was also a realtor as well. So I think they actually kind of mesh in together as more and more as I'm saying it, that lifestyle choices are also going, financial strategy, I guess, would be underneath the umbrella of a lifestyle choice that she made. So I thought that was interesting.
Hey, real quick, hit up what that UBI actually means.
Oh my God.
Universal basic income.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Universal basic income.
Thanks, guys.
The reason why I always struggle with UBI, because you have to have a unique business identifier. And so when we have employees in other states and we're doing payroll, they ask me for my UBI. And so then I get them mixed up. So thank you. Yes. Universal basic income is the concept of the government kind of paying out a dividend to to basically all of us, that, hey, this is a corporation, United States of America is a corporation, and you deserve this dividend. And so we kind of help people across our country, with giving them a monthly stipend to basically live, to take care of basic needs, that some of the jobs that are present today will not be present in 5 to 10 years as AI continues to advance and grow. So it's a concept. So next question, I will put it in the chat. Should you pay cash for a home to live debt-free, or keep your liquidity and let the bank's money do the heavy lifting? I think I spelled it correctly, so yeah. Boom. Should you pay cash for a home to live debt-free or keep your liquidity and let the bank's money do the heavy lifting? What do you think about that, Randall?
With that question, it makes me go back to opportunity cost. What other things can you do with that money? And also that alludes to a little bit of your age and stage in life. So if you're somebody who's 60 years old and really want to lock in, a lifestyle, you may be tempted to pay off your mortgage completely and live and then live off the rest of your money. It also has an element of wealth. Well, we don't want, let's say if you have a $500,000 net worth and you're purchasing a $400,000 house, you probably don't want that percentage of your net worth into that house. So then that would lend itself to a mortgage because you want yourself in that level of liquidity. So what the short answer is, it depends on your starting point in wealth. And it also depends on your lifestyle in which you want to live. If you're 70 years old and you no longer want to have a mortgage, that may be tempting to a lot of people to know that, hey, all I have to pay is my lifestyle. I don't have to continually send that payment off to a company.
What do you think, Vince?
Well, I mean, I'm always going to lean towards that one of invest, keep your mortgage to where you have it, whether regardless of the interest rate. I'm an old school with cash is king. And when you get to that older period in life, I think you're better off selling your house when you're reaching your late 60s, 70 years of age, reducing your expenses because you're not paying for a school district or property taxes or homeowners insurance, and go buy and rent a luxury apartment and keep the money in the bank that earns interest that offsets your rental payment for people of age of seniors or whatever to the convenience of life.
I think let's try to answer this one in the age brackets that you're talking about. So let's start with the 65-year-old, right? Because that's when the senior freeze occurs. Do you still have that too, Randall, in Georgia? 65 years old, you get a senior freeze on your real estate taxes?
Yeah, we call it homestead exemption down here.
Okay. So homestead exemption. So I'm 65 years old. I'm just thinking about a client in my head. So I'm 65 years old. I have no, should you pay cash for? So I'm downsizing, right? I have 2 kids that are just got out of school. They both have great jobs. So this house is worth $500,000. I should be selling this house because I don't like the 2-story. I don't need the 2-story anymore. I want the ranch style home. My knees hurt. And I should go ahead and sell this house and really look to pay cash for a house, right? Is that what we're thinking?
I'm looking at putting the money in the account and drawing the interest to pay down, and I'll say it right, very simply, a rent payment. Okay. And let's just address it from the standpoint that property taxes on a $500,000 home in Illinois is $10,000. Right? Homeowners insurance is $1,800. So that's $1,200. Well, you can go rent a pretty high-end apartment at $2,500. What do you got left? So, I mean, it's a very tricky thing. And the reason I mean it's tricky is because as parents get older, and we're saying that because me and you are approaching 50 than we are closer to 40, right?
Correct.
And we got a guy here who not only is a financial planner, is a financial analyst, he sees the numbers. And to me, what I'm looking at is, and when I'm seeing my friends and family reaching this age and having this nest egg, but they're keeping this house that's costing them $3,000 a month, when instead they could be saving $2,000 a month, earning the interest from giving up the home ownership, having complete flexibility. And as a child of those parents, I now don't have to worry about, does mom and dad need a roof? Do I need to go over there and fix the home? They have an apartment, they're in a high rise, they're in an elevator, they have all the amenities they need, their ability to travel and enjoy life if all their health is there. Now, again, I've had some life events that causes my personality and my changing on that, but it's a completely different picture. But from the standpoint of the cost of just operating a home when you're retired does not make financial sense, regardless of how much money's there. You may have enough money that you're going to keep your house regardless, but from a true financial planning standpoint, it does not make sense.
Now, I think we're talking about a lot of things. I actually agree with you 100%. after a certain age, I would like people to downsize and rent and not worry about maintenance and focus more on social elements. Because if you're in a more of a city district, you can talk to more people. You can walk down to a coffee shop. It keeps your mind more engaged. So that's definitely a thing when we talk about folks getting older, being around more, being more social versus being stuck in a house watching TV all day and watching cars go by your front lawn. So I 100% agree on the lifestyle element. And I also agree on the long-term wealth in the sense of what net assets do you have when you actually pass? You would actually be better off investing that money mathematically. But unfortunately, lifestyle-wise, people get comfortable with the neighborhood, a community, and they tend to want to pay off their mortgage and just stay in that one home.
You know, it's funny that you bring this up because both of you, practical and emotional, and that emotional attachment that they have with the house, they can't let it go. I mean, I even think of my mom, you know, as we're talking about this with a free and clear property, she would never sell that house. I mean, that is one of the assets that she's going to pass down to her children. That, you know, she has no desire to ever think about moving. It was a house that was built by my grandfather, and it has sentimental value. So emotionally, you can never take that home away from her. You know, even though maybe the numbers, hey, why don't you sell this house? You'll make $500,000. You can, you know, live off the interest. So I think, you know, as you get older and you get more attached to things, that's the emotional bondage that you have towards the house, what it means, the memories. It's hard to let it go. Now, if someone were to pass away in the home, you know, that, you know, could, you know, mess you up, stigmatize you a little bit, like, oh my God, I got to get out of here. I can't stay in here. And I've seen that. I've seen clients in their 40s have a loved one pass away, and both are, you know, hey, cleaning it up and getting rid of that thing. I don't, you know, I got the heebie-jeebies when I walk into this house. I remember this loved one that's not here with us. So that's a good point, Vince. I did not think about that, but it really, the issue from older perspective is that emotional touch that they have. I know that this one couple right now is selling a house in Western Springs. It's a townhome. Western Springs is a very high affluent area in the western suburbs, about 10 minutes away from me right here. And they're selling their house. Obviously had multiple offers. You know, everyone can't wait to get into Western Springs, you know, and I actually grew up there as a kid. And so they're selling their townhome to move into like a assisted living facility, but it's plush. It's as nice as it gets. And, you know, it's that way. It's like, hey, in case, and it's a husband and wife. Wife is 75, husband's 85 scenario, right? So, you know, hey, just in case, you know, he kicks the bucket anytime soon, the wife is there and she's going to have all the support around her. And just having that assisted living, you know, is something that they're interested in. But you have, you know, in some of those places, it's not necessarily rent. You still have to buy into those locations. But to your point, planning for your future, that would be interesting. Now, if you're, let's say now, let's take it back to a younger status. Let's say you're 40 years old, okay, and you made a killing in crypto. You know, should you be taking that money and buying a home, you know, cash, or should you take out a mortgage? I'm thinking of there's a guy named Tristan Jass, even from YouTube, right? He made a bunch of money from YouTube videos, doing all these trick shots for basketball and stuff like that. And he bought a house. You know, I don't know how he did it, but do you pay cash for it because you got all this money, or should I take out a mortgage? What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think so. It goes back to the original. It's opportunity cost. If you do not trust yourself with money, sometimes your money is better off in the home. But if you're responsible and be a good steward and understand investing and return on investments and actually have different opportunities in the future that can make more than the around 4 to 7% that real estate gives you, I would definitely not put the money into the home. But we know the stats on how well off people are with money, or how they're being good stewards of the money. The majority of the population will waste that money. So sometimes it is better in the house. And people know this. That's why they make those irrational mathematical decisions that we've already agreed to beforehand, because they know if that money's not in the house, it's going to be wasted on something that they can't actually enjoy like a home.
Vince, you got anything?
I mean, to just kind of follow up, right? I mean, we've said this before. There hasn't been any real downturns in the marketplace. If you do take those risks, you're going to wind up potentially at some point in time, you're going to have a down year and stuff. So you still want to protect yourself and, kind of spread that wealth around. So I'd kind of lean a little bit on different things depending where you're at in life. But I mean, if you need a house, you need a house, right? So if it's an expense and it's an expense, if you have enough cash to avoid the expense, then you're putting the money to work somewhere else. So it's kind of a blend.
I wanted to say something to you. A lot of the stuff that we talk about on this show and just the conversation that we have, it's really that we're trying to develop plan Bs and plan Cs for people. I mean, in a perfect world, right? You get a W-2 job. You put your money, 10%, 10 to 20% into a 401k of some sort. And then, over the next 30, 40 years, you put into it and, voila, you get this 40-20 split going on where you're able to retire after 40 years. Your money has, tripled and quadrupled and you have over $1 million saved up. But we really, on this stage, we know the reality of that, right? We know that the average person stays at a job for 3 years. We know that, 401ks are not being, maxed out on a year-to-year basis. We know that real life does happen. Life be life, and as they're starting to say right now. So there is a level of like reality that comes in that we're like, all right, what's our plan B then? Because that didn't work for me, right? I couldn't find the job that was, so secure. They laid me off. So I feel like a lot of our strategies and a lot of the concepts that we bring about here and we kind of, go back and forth on are plan Bs. And I've always talked about, I have a buddy, very successful, makes about $160,000 a year, receives stocks, into the company that he works for. Also puts, max out his 401k. His wife, makes about 120,000 as an accountant, doing very well for herself. And, to some degree, if they stay the course, they'll be worth $10 million. So,
sorry,
no, go ahead.
Granted, my view is a little different on that. In our industry, we're commissioned only, and so is the majority of our audience. So we always could take a little bit of a different view on it. I always take a look at it as we don't have the security of a W-2. It's always there. So for me, it's always how much cash can I have in the event something goes wrong? I have the liquidity. It's always there, right? That's always been my position on that stuff for quite a while.
No, I love it. And that's why I've always said, to some degree, we have to take every situation uniquely based upon them and where they are. There's just, so a lot of times people, when they speak on these platforms, they speak so, just as if everyone's like that. And that's where I want us to be unique and thoughtful of. There's different situations out there. You might be the truck driver. You might be, the one that does hair. You might be, the W-2. So there's going to be a different strategy for each person based on your scenario. And we do have to, what are we looking at? What are the variables? Well, how old are you? What are your individual goals? Because that can sway, the decision or the thought pattern that we have.
Well, absolutely, right? So let's look. Just want to touch back on two things, right? Said the thing as you get older, you should look to rent and sell your house. But to add the one thing to that, if you lose one of your parents and now your mother or your father is the only person in that home, financially, it's to sell, right? But I get the emotional attachment. On the part of a younger couple, 40, 45 kids, have enough money to pay their house off, is paying that house off now the benefit of allowing your one spouse to stay home and take care of the kids, right? That has a completely different picture to it, right? Like that would be something that, I would always look towards, right? If that was a situation, if I could have my wife stay home with the kids and not have to work, and that means paying the house off, those are other options, right? So again, it's to, like you said, living life.
Yeah, that's interesting. Paying off the house, so then the spouse. human capital is only, you have human capital, which is you, right? It's your work ethic, it's your energy. You only have it for a certain period of time, right? I may not be as strong as I was 10 years ago. I may not be as fast as I was 20 years ago. So the energy level that I have now, to some degree, dwindles as time moves on. That human capital loss by taking that pay cut. But if you have less expenses, maybe it's a beautiful thing. So it is interesting. It's definitely decisions. I want to hit this last question before we go into answering some of these audience questions. Is saving money outdated advice in an inflation-driven world, or still the foundation of every wealth plan?
So I would say for me, saving is not outdated. There's no substitute of having a hoard of cash when life happens. You guys work in the real estate market. You guys know how expensive the roof is. It's getting colder now. We know how expensive a heater is. Things happen in the home where you need to have emergencies. Also, my experience is people can't imagine what they don't have at times. So if there's an opportunity that costs $50,000, if you don't have $50,000 liquid, sometimes you can't even imagine what can be. So having that cash hoard not only keeps you safe from things happen, but it also allows you to see other opportunities that you normally would not see if you're living paycheck to paycheck, or maybe have 1 or 2 months worth of savings. So I think it's still the foundation of wealth, more to protect yourself and also to see other opportunities in the future.
What do you think, Vince?
I mean, I agree with all that, right? I mean, we've said this before. You need an emergency fund first. I've said this in the beginning since we started doing this. Investing doesn't really become investing until you've at least saved up $100,000. So it's all those little things that have to add up first before you can actually look at all those opportunities. And you can't get there until you save, right? The saving has to be the first thing. It's the conservative portion of everything, right? And as your assets grow, I always will say this: you can use your house as your bond portfolio, as your investment pool, and then work towards more other investments. And that will allow the money to grow faster, although it brings in more risk.
Yeah. And just give insights, like as a doomsday scenario for when I work with clients, is we actually do see their home as a potential thing. If worst case scenario, they don't have money, they can pull that fixed kind of growth out of that home. So you're 100% correct. Homes can be looked at as a fixed income instrument.
I like to hear you say that, Randall. Take the money out of the wall.
Take the money out of the walls. We're getting them there.
Slow and steady.
I love that. I love that.
I'm turning them around, Dante. I'm turning them around.
I think we have made leaps and bounds changes. Oh my goodness. The clients are going to be like, well, Randall, where have you been? I haven't heard you say that before. Hey, can you give the audience your contact information?
Yeah, sure. My name's Randall Avery, owner of 𝐒𝐔𝐁𝐒𝐂𝐑𝐈𝐍𝐿 Wealth Management. You can find me online under Randall Avery. You can also check out my website if you want to learn more about me at www.deasilwm.com. That's deasilwm.com. Also have a YouTube channel, so if you like some of the topics that I speak on, please check out my YouTube channel. That's also under Randall Avery. And I'm the author of the book, Hacking the System by Creating Your Own System. If you feel like you're struggling with money, if you feel like you're not making the headway that you should, please check out my book, Hacking the System by Creating Your Own System. It could be the solution to move you forward on your wealth journey.
Awesome. All right, let's take care of some housekeeping notes. This episode today is sponsored by Epic Mortgage. Whether you're buying, investing, or refinancing, call Epic today, 708-905-5300, 708-905-5300. It's your dreams, your goals. Let's plan together. Now, if you are looking for a book that can help you, show you a way to build wealth through your house, that book right behind me is there, The Ultimate Mortgage Guide. It's available on Amazon. Make sure you check that out. It's also would be a great holiday gift as we're getting closer to the holiday season. So make sure you check out The Ultimate Mortgage Guide. It's available on Amazon. Now, after the show, if you're on Facebook, if you're on LinkedIn, make sure you go to our YouTube channel, Epic Spotlight. Check out the most recent podcast, Epic Spotlight podcast interview. It was with David Prescott and Michael Ashley. They are the authors of Creative Destruction, as they reveal explosive insights on how ESG policies could erode your retirement, stifle business innovation, undermine American energy, and boost China's AI dominance. Discover the global risks, secret agendas, and how individuals, businesses can fight back. Don't miss the eye-opening discussion I had with David Prescott and Michael Ashley. It was definitely an interesting interview. It was something that was a little bit out of my scope, and they brought me into their world. I did some research on it, so I thought the overall conversation was well. Heard some points. May or may not disagree or agree with all of them, but it was an interesting insight nonetheless. So make sure you check out the most recent Epic Spotlight podcast, David Prescott and Michael Ashley. And we do have some preferred listings, so we can definitely help you get pre-approved for a mortgage. All you have to do is just call us. So we have a couple that are still outstanding. We got 12673 Simbay Court in Jacksonville, Florida. It's a 4-bed, 3-bath. It is new construction, going for $375 now. Contact Charday Nix 904-520-8041. We have 6200 South Marsh Lane in Matson, Illinois. It's a single family, 4-bed, 2.5-bath, going for $270,000. Contact L'Oreal Flowers 312-774-4230. We have an investment property, a 2-unit at 6832 South Bishop in Chicago, Illinois, going for $240,000. A 2-flat going for $240,000. So that's a good deal. 312-774-4230. We have 4634 Deepwood Court in Bowie, Maryland. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath, going for $367,500. Contact Phil Dyson 443-280-1842. And our latest one is 2602 Hummingbird Lane in Humble, Texas. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath, going for $284,444. Contact Carolyn Jones, aka CJ, at 281-356-0203. All these listings are available on www.danteroyster.com, so you can definitely take a look there. And we got some questions that came in. Appreciate everyone putting comments in. If you have more questions, just put them in the comment chat, and we'll take it from there. Do you think leveraging debt is smarter than paying cash in today's economy? Start with you, Randall.
I mean, unfortunately, the answer is it depends. I think it goes back to our original question. You have to have your emergency fund in place. A lot of people miss that. If you have that nice cushion, once you have that nice cushion, then you can be more creative in leveraging debt to, I guess, make things happen in your life. But if you have that cushion, I think you can play around if you'd like to. But the question always is, people don't realize, yes, when you leverage, you increase your upside. Right. That's why when you buy a home, you get a mortgage, it starts to appreciate. Well, it really seems like it's appreciating really fast because you borrowed that money. But it also has a downside when you use debt to buy different opportunities. So just make sure you can handle that downside and while you're trying to enjoy the upside.
Vince, what was that Grant Cardone video? I think we were looking at buying a $500,000 house. He used 8%. And then, obviously one of the things that he factored into the equation, which was interesting, I never really looked at it like that, just the interest plus, paying back the principal. I think it was roughly about $680,000. So you're borrowing $500,000, but the reality with the interest, over a 7 to 10 year time frame was about $680,000. So, it was like, well, how much do I need to sell this property, to break even? Now, fortunately, we have on our side is the appreciation that can grow. But it is something to note, of a break-even mindset. So it made me think that, any type of investing is going to at least take about 10 years, to really see the fruits of anything like worthwhile. And for some, it may take even longer, 20, 30 years or longer than that. So it is, opportunity cost is a huge thing. And that's where leveraging debt can be a play. It really is unique to your own individual situation, Adam. But obviously, if you're going to have to pull your emergency savings or leverage debt, I would tell you to leverage the debt. Leave the emergency savings for what it truly is. So, so I would always say be mindful of that. Let's see here. We got the next one. Is owning a home still the best path to building long-term wealth? Thanks, Ian. This is a great question. What do you say, Randall?
Mortgage show.
The historically, and I still feel like going forward in the future, most people's wealth will be tied into their home. So if you want to say across the board, the general American, the general individual who's probably listening to this show, having a home will be a way that you can build wealth. It's one of the key elements. But I think it does a little bit more just financially, but also psychologically. You feel more stable. You don't have to worry about the landlord going up in rent. You can build a community around yourself. You can meet your neighbors, become comfortable because they're probably just as stable as you are. So I think, yes, your home will still be a big piece of your wealth, but also I think you have to look at the psychological elements of being stable and building community that also has wealth building elements. So I think home ownership will always be part of a wealth building plan.
You know what we have a fortunate, Vince is licensed in multiple states, so am I. And so one of the things that is, one of our benefits is that we get to talk to so many different people in different regions and pockets. And so I know a lady that sold her house in Colorado, right? It's like Steamboat, Colorado. And she sold the property for roughly about $800,000. She bought it for about $240,000. And it's just a massive amount of appreciation over probably a 20-year time frame that, people have seen in the West Coast and the East Coast respectively. And and talk about strategy, what she did was when she sold the house, did she go ahead and buy another $500,000 house, in Colorado Springs? Did she buy $1 million house in Denver? No. She took the money and she paid cash for a property in Alabama. Now, a lot of people ain't going to move from Colorado to Alabama. Let me just tell you. Now, the weather might be better, no doubt. But obviously, it was a change of lifestyle, 100%, that she was willing to commit, but for a slower pace where her dollar went further and put a more comfort level just around her overall situation. So, hey, I might not, have the mountains behind me anymore. I might not be able to rock climb on the weekends, but I do have a peace of mind that I have money in the bank, house is paid off, and I'm living a slower life, just free. So some of that stuff does matter, that people have to, if you're willing to make those moves and adjustments. Not everyone is willing to move down to Alabama. Alabama, for whatever reason, might be one of those things. I don't know if I'll ever go put my foot in Alabama, but it is one of those situations where, if you're willing to make those changes, there's definitely opportunity that you could take advantage of, depending on where you live, sell and relocate.
Hey, be careful with the Alabama comment, man. The guy on the TV with you lives in Georgia. I mean, he's only a couple feet over. It's not that bad.
I want to say Alabama's a nice place for fine people, and I'll leave it at that.
So politically correct. Well, I think they have like Orange Beach, if I remember correctly. Is it Orange Beach that's supposed to be really nice? So yes, I'm sorry for all the Alabamas. Maybe I'll go down there. I'll go see the Crimson Tide play. Maybe I'll go down there for that.
There you go. I want to add one thing on that with the long-term wealth. It's about planning, right? And the other piece of that, well, we don't really get into much of it, and I know I've touched a little bit on the senior population, but your parents have assets in their home, in their investment accounts, and sometimes parents keep that money for a longer period instead of starting to put it out to the kids in advance or to the grandkids. That would help build that longer term wealth faster or give you a better return on that. Because at the end of the day, depending how many brothers and sisters you have, you're going to fall into a windfall of money that is your parents' assets. So it's important to really have those conversations with them and try and figure out how to free up some of what they may be potentially going to give to you when they pass, and see if you can, and I don't want to say pry it away, but sometimes it is that thing of prying it away because they just don't want to lose that sense of security.
I think that's good. I mean, I know this is a little off topic, but there's a book called Die with Zero. The concept that people hoard money until they're older and then pass down their wealth. And if we think about it logically, Usually when somebody passes, their kids are around 50 or 60. No amount of wealth is going to really change your life when you're 60. You kind of are who you are. But if you're a little bit more strategic when, let's say, the parent is 60 and giving strategic to your kids at 30 and 40, you can actually change the true trajectory of their life. $50,000 means a lot more to us when we're 20 than when we're 55. So think about that. I just want to echo on that. That's a key strategic point. But in our culture, we love to hoard things and keep our money in our control, and that's our identity. But it's actually more strategically better if you're a little bit more free flowing with your money.
I read that book. That was a good book.
It's a great book.
But he was very successful, and you always have to be mindful of that. So it was definitely, I think it didn't hit. It hit people depending on your income level of just dying with zero. But it was a great concept that something to consider. Ariel writes, what's one common money myth you wish everyone would drop?
Oh, man. I have to remember this is a mortgage show. Let me think. Let me come back to you on that one. Let me go.
You got one, Vince?
No, I really don't. Sorry.
What's one common money myth you wish everyone?
I don't joke about money. There's no myth. No.
I mean, what is like? You have to spend money to make money. That'd be a myth. But that's true to it, though. I never understood it at first. I mean, a lot of times I don't think these are myths. That it's really truth to them. I just didn't understand it. You have to spend money to make money. I was like, what does that mean? That's so weird. But they're talking about marketing. You have to market your product in order. And if you market your product, spending money, however you're going to spend it, and then to make money is true. I just didn't understand it.
Think what you had to spend to open Epic.
100%.
Right. I mean, it's opportunity cost is what it is, right?
I mean, this costs money, right? I mean, let's be honest. This right here, it's not free. You have to pay a service. You have to pay a subscription. So this costs money to be able to say, hey, world, here I am. This is what I do. This is how I offer people, and hopefully you like what you hear, and we continue. So to market, it's going to spend money to make money.
And to say, hey, world, here we are. How many people we actually got on today?
Right now we're at 467 people listening to us.
Wow.
467. So appreciate everyone listening to us today. It's a Monday, trying to get back in the swing of things. A couple of weeks away from Turkey Day. So I know that everyone's looking forward to that. Randall, you come up with one, or are you still stumped?
Yeah, let's go with there really are no get-rich-quick schemes. We hear about day trading. We hear about all the different things where you can just make $1 million in a short amount of time. And it does happen. But I feel like people put too much stock into that. Real wealth takes work. It takes sacrifice. It takes long nights. It's just a hard grind. And I don't think people want to put the time into any profession to bear the fruit that they truly want. So there's no get-rich-quick schemes.
I really like that you said that, because you made me think of Robert Kiyosaki, and there's a lot of times I've thought about him, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, all of his books. He was the one that really developed the quadrants, and he started off with saying, first you have a job, then you have, then you're self-employed, then you have a business, and he defined a business as 500 employees, which is pretty like a big business. And then from a 500 employee corporation, then you're a passive investor, and people want to be passive investors. And what I notice about like, fixing and flipping, something that we do in our world, or day trading in your world, those are jobs,
yes.
And so it's kind of, a foolery to some degree to think, all you're doing is trading this job for this job. Mm-hmm. All you're saying is, oh, well, you can make so much money as a day trader. Well, you can make so much money as a loan officer too. You still got to put the time and effort into it. You can't do anything really part-time or half-ass. That's not going to work out for you. Long-term success is going to be something that you put time and effort into. It's funny because a job, you can be successful as a, hey, I got a W-2 employee. I'm a job. I got a company that pays me well, and I'm doing the best to my ability. But you can also be self-employed really, what does self-employed mean to me is that, hey, I think I can create my own job for myself, and I can basically hold myself accountable and make sure I still produce at a level as if I was working for somebody else. And then but you have to kind of really kind of build and go through the snake, like, steps to really grow and to develop something. So I think that's so important, because I see a lot of people, there's so much noise out there, and you're being thrown so many opportunities. Oh man, you sound like a good salesman. You'd be great over here doing life insurance, or you'd be great selling credit repair programs or something like that. But that's a job. I would have to put time and effort into that. I can't the money doesn't just flow in just because now all of a sudden I add that as something that I do.
Yeah. Well, hit one thing on that, whether it's fix and flip or day trading, each one of them have a very high tax payout.
True.
So, wherever you want to look at that, we talk about long-term wealth building or creation, whether it's in your house or whether it's in your investment accounts, a lot of that's tax sheltered, even when it comes to real estate. And it's about touching that equity when the time's right. I've said this before. I dabbled in the day trading back in 2020 and still did mortgages, but it was balancing both. But at the end of the year, when the taxes came, it was a big, hefty check I had to cut, right? It almost made it not worth it.
Yeah. Good call.
Should young buyers prioritize equity or cash flow first?
Is this, let's make an assumption. Are they talking about equity in a home? Are they talking about?
I'm assuming equity in a home.
Okay, so as far as equity home or cash flow first, and in cash flow, are they saying cash flow off of a rental property or cash flow off of W-2 income?
So basically, should a young buyer buy a primary house, or should he buy an investment property first? What should be, so that's what he's talking about. And, that's the house hacking. This type of question would fall into house hacking, where, you buy a multi-unit building, let's say a 3-unit, for example, live in one, so you can get best of both worlds. House hacking would be an opportunity on a multi-unit level is the mindset. A venture show, you would want a multi-unit, anything from a 2 to 4 unit building where you could actually live in there, get familiarized with just the building itself, and then, also to become a landlord. A lot of times in the mortgage space, it is recommended and suggested that, for a first-time home buyer, they should be buying a multi-unit first. We have a lot of those properties in the Chicagoland area. And obviously, we see the most cash flow generally in the 3 to 4 unit range is where you can, virtually one of the units is just pure cash. That 2 out of 3 will, cover the mortgage, and the 1 extra unit, whether you're living there rent free or you're renting it out, and that's just money that you're building up. So, should a young person buy a primary house first or buy an investment property?
I think
think
for me, it goes back to our previous conversation. Are you willing to become a professional as a landlord? To me, that makes the decision. Like, if you're thinking about this as kind of like a get rich quick scheme or a wealth building tool, that's fine. But are you willing to become a professional landlord, learn that industry, learn what you have to do, learn the laws of the land in your area, then go with the cash flow. But if you're a typical American and you just want to do your W-2 job, just purchase a home that fits your lifestyle, that fits your financial situation. Do not focus on the cash flow unless you are willing to become a real estate professional. Not just any professional, a real estate professional. And that is completely a different animal.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's interesting because I know I have a client right now that I'm working with, and we did a line of credit and got cash out. And now she's looking at buying a multi-unit building for the purposes of cash flow. She wants to build up her cash flow and make more money. And, but, one of the conversations that I had with her is, hey, be mindful. This is a job. You got to get the right, you get the wrong tenant in there. Watch out. But you have to be mindful of like how much cash flow can you get? Is it worth it? If you're making $600 a month off, each door, if you're, making $1,200 per, is that worth it? Is it worth the risk? and you have to, and I can't make that decision for you. You have to make that decision for yourself. So yeah, I think it's an internal look. You really have to look at yourself. Are you landlord, capabilities? Do you have the landlord capabilities, the mindset, the stuff that you have to go through? I was a property manager for 10 years, and I got the phone call on Thanksgiving, hey, it's too cold in here. And I'm like, it's Thanksgiving. Like, what do you want me to do? And and I had to respond. I had to react. I couldn't just ignore. And those things were, and that's why I'm not a property manager now. But it's like, those are the things you really have to go through. It's hot. It's too cold in my unit, and you're like, it's 80 degrees on the thermostat. What are you talking about? It's too cold. The draft from the windows. I mean, there's a lot of crazy stuff that goes on in that world, and you have to be ready for it, no doubt. Jim, how can homeowners use their property to grow wealth faster?
That's a good one. Well, maintain it. Let's start there. You'll be surprised, you go in folks' home, how it's under maintained. It's not upkeep. Also, make sure you do some updates. You don't have to do a lot of updates internally, whether that's update your kitchen, bathroom, things of that nature, especially if you're 15 years into your home. One of the things that I want people to think about is your home should be a place where you bring people together, people in your network, people in the social environment. Open up I know we live in a very private place. I don't want anybody in my house, but open up your home and let people come in and see what type of economic activities are things come your way just because you've actually opened up your home. So the fastest way to build wealth with the home, and it doesn't have to be a beautiful home. It doesn't even have to be a large home. It just has to be a home where you can host people, bring people together. And I believe economic opportunities will follow those actions.
So sad that we used to, as a kid, I would ride my bike and just knock on the door and be like, hey, can Derek come out?
No. Go away, kid.
Man, that doorbell rings nowadays. Like, who is it? Do you have someone? Is someone supposed to be? Why is someone knocking at the door? What I mean? It's just, man, our lives have just changed. My goodness. All right, let's go here. Is it risky to depend on leverage when markets are unpredictable?
So, as the guy who shuns away from using a lot of leverage, if you have your emergency fund, if you have your skills and tax to be able to earn income outside of this investment or this thing that you're leveraging, I think you can be at peace at night with the unpredictability of the markets going up and down. So I think it's doing that prior homework, having that security. You can ride out most market ups and downs, because usually if you did your homework, the investments will turn out in your favor over time.
Yeah, it always depends on what leverage. What leverage are you, or how much leverage? Because most times the guardrails are on from the lender perspective, right? I mean, no matter people that are involved in real estate investing, I mean, we're only lending out 75% max cash out refinances on investment properties. So, I mean, there's still 25% of equity there for most people, and and that's based on your credit score. I mean, I got a guy right now in Indiana. We just got the value back, and the max we're able to offer is 60% loan to value. So I think their guardrails are there from a lending perspective to, kind of hedge some of the leverage that you're actually doing. So, the market is unpredictable, but at the same time, if you don't have the funds necessary or the means necessary, to your point, Randall, of like emergency savings, then what are we talking about? The leverage is that plan B where we have to leverage in order that we're ready to handle it. Because the thing is, if you lose your job today, if your company goes out of business, you can't tap into your house, right? You can't verify employment. You can't tap in. So tap in now while you can be proactive and get ready for a rainy day. And that's I think overall that's what me and Vince talk about. We're talking about being proactive approach of taking and extracting the appreciation that has accrued in those walls, take it out. Because we're already seeing the softening going on currently in the areas. valuations are going down right now. So, some of what was once there is now, going away. So we want people to be mindful of that. And if it makes sense, I mean, obviously we'll do our evaluations. We can help you get pre-approved, whether it's a purchase or a refinance, and see if we can really help you out. And I think the last one is here. Incredible insights from Randall and Vincent. Thank you for this. Thanks, Matt, for listening. Yeah, these guys are gems. Very fortunate to have them on, and that's why I invite them. And Lord knows they keep coming. So obviously, we must be doing something right. So appreciate both of you gentlemen. Vince, you want to give your contact info?
For anyone that ever wants to reach me, cell phone number 708-359-8578, and my Epic email is vince@epic.mortgage.
And Randall, one more time. Yeah. Follow me. Best way to get in contact with me is my website. So it's www.deasilwm.com, deasilwm.com. Or you can find me on all social media platforms. Just search under my name, Randall Avery. And you can click and schedule a free consultation with me. No sales will be done in that first consultation. It's just an opportunity for you to get to know me.
That's awesome sauce. Anything coming up, Randall, going on? I think you got any events or anything that you want to promote?
Yeah, I'm speaking in South Carolina. It's the Licensed Professional Counselors Association there. So that should be that's coming up I believe in March. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'm open to speak. So if anybody needs a lecture specifically targeting practice owners, so dentists, therapists, attorneys, please think of me, and I can speak at your next event to help them grow their wealth and their practice.
Awesome. Well, we'll be back tomorrow. We have Monique Hendricks coming on tomorrow, home designing, Vince. So a whole different realm, home designer, home decor, staging homes.
We're talking area rugs and drapery and window treatments and everything else. I may not be here tomorrow. You may be on your own, buddy. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Good stuff.
I'll be here tomorrow. I won't be here Wednesday.
Understood. Got it. Well, hey, appreciate everyone listening today. We got some work to do. Thank you so much, Randall. It was awesome as always. Hope to have you back on again before the new year. That would be tremendous. Maybe we can get you in for December if you have some availability.
Sounds good to me.
All right, cool. Well, everyone have a great day, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care.
All right, see you tomorrow. Bye, everyone.